This is the Astrology of Healing, Part 1, The Sun, and I'm Willa Kaiser, Vedic astrologer. To get started, I'm going to recite a mantra to my lineage 3 times. It's the Vajraguru mantra. Om Ahum Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Ahum Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Om. Om Ahum Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Om. We're going to start by talking about the 5 elements. The 5 elements are important both in astrology and in many kinds of holistic healing. This is a way of looking at what's going on in our body, but also a way of understanding the planets and everything in phenomenal existence. So the first element, the most solid and dense element, is the earth element, which represents that sense of heaviness, solidity, density in the body. The next element is water, which represents the fluids in our body, such as the blood and the lymph, all of the substances that have a fluid element to it and give us a floating sensation when they're very strong. Fire element gives us warmth in our body, also gives inflammation and burning sensations. Air is representative of movement, and also it is believed that thoughts ride on the karmic winds in the body, which is why breath and focusing on the breath can be so helpful in meditation. Slowing down the breath and being aware of the breath is a way of calming down the karmic winds. And finally, space. The element of space brings openness, integration, and harmony, kind of brings all the other elements together and is the most refined of the elements. And then you can see from this chart here how ether element and air element form Vata dosha in Ayurveda. The fire and water elements form Pitta dosha in Ayurveda, and the water and earth element form Kapha dosha in Ayurveda. Now I would like to introduce another concept, which is gunas. The word guna in Sanskrit can translate as quality, nature, or attribute. And the first guna that I would like to discuss is Rajas guna, who is represented by the deity Brahma in the Vedic tradition. Rajas guna is related to energy, excitement, brightness, creativity, birth, passion. Our culture, in Western culture in general, and particularly the United States, is very connected with Rajas guna. We are quite Rajasic in the United States, always busy, always frenzied, always hurried, etc. The planets that relate to Rajas guna are especially Venus, which relates to passions and desires, and Mercury, which relates to business and communications. So these tend to be the energies that dominate a lot of Western society. The opposite guna to that is tamas guna. With creativity, we also need to have destruction, meaning things need to fall apart before something new can be born. And the deity associated with tamas guna is Shiva, who helps us to overcome tamas guna and to get through tamas guna. Tamas guna is very related with the yogic path, because in order to emerge as a reborn person, as an enlightened being, everything has to fall apart before you can have that rebirth. It's almost like a phoenix coming up out of the ashes. So that process of dissolution and destruction tends to be one that most of us try to avoid, because we try to hold on to what we're familiar with and what we like, and tamas guna makes it all fall apart. It also is related to sleep, to anxiety, to fear, to darkness, really, and apathy and inertia. Another way to look at this is a caterpillar who goes into a cocoon. And when the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, it has to completely dissolve itself in order to emerge as a butterfly. So that process of dissolution, of everything falling apart, of everything just going into a kind of unknown jelly-like consistency in order for something new to be built, is really related to tamas guna. Sometimes we also think of it as sort of, going through a dark tunnel. The sign Scorpio in the zodiac is related to this situation of just going through darkness and not knowing what's going to happen next. That's really tamas guna. And the planets that relate to tamas guna are Mars, Saturn, Rahu, and Ketu, which are the nodes. So these are the planets that bring these uncomfortable feelings. They're what we call the malefic planets, meaning that they cause discomfort and fear and anxiety. But we all have them somewhere in our chart, and we all have to go through those dark tunnels at different times for different reasons, starting with birth. Just coming out into the world is already one of those very frightening experiences. And finally, sattva guna, which is the guna or quality that has to do with balance. And sattva has to do with true essence and is connected with harmony, balance, sustenance. As I said, the deity associated with tamas guna is Vishnu, and it is connected with goodness, purity, strength of character, wisdom, brilliance. And really, we could go through any action and be motivated by these different gunas in different ways. For example, if you were going to do some charitable work, let's say go feed the homeless, you might be doing it out of a rajasic reason. For example, I'm going to impress other people, and there's a girl I like, and maybe if I do this, that person will be impressed and I'll get a new job, or she'll date me, or something like that. That would be a rajasic motivation, doing it out of some kind of desire for something for yourself. Another motivation could be tamasic, out of fear, like, if I don't help, somebody's going to get angry at me, or I'm going to get in trouble, or whatever, doing it out of fear or anxiety. And finally, sattvic motivation would be to do it out of love, to do it out of concern, to do it out of caring. So obviously this kind of love, devotion, concern for others is the highest level of guna. And when you are in a sattvic place and acting out of motivation, of compassion and concern for other beings, you're on the path of a bodhisattva, because you're generating compassion. And this is something you can actually cultivate and work on, so that more and more of your daily motivations are connected with the bodhisattva path, with the wish to relieve others' suffering. So this is why I have chosen to do this series on the astrology of healing, is because I wanted to explain the sattvic planets from the point of view of Vedic astrology to help develop sattva guna. The sattvic planets are the sun and the moon, which are the luminaries, and Jupiter, which is the planet that represents wisdom. And since we all need more sattva inside ourselves and also the world, that is the purpose of this series. Just a few facts about the sun. It's a yellow dwarf star. It's middle-aged, about 4.6 billion years. At about 10 billion years, the sun will collapse into itself and become a black hole. It has a very strong magnetic field and holds our whole solar system together and is our source of light, heat, and energy. Basically, of course, all life is here because of the energy and the warmth of the sun. Based on what we've learned so far, the sun represents the fire element and the sattvic guna. So it is sattvic fire. One of the deities associated with the sun is Agni, which is deified fire. The sun in our astrology chart represents the light of our soul, the oneness, the one reality. The name of the sun in Sanskrit is Surya. Su means good, and Arya means he who follows Dharma. And in fact, the sun is the definer of Dharma, just as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west on a completely regular schedule. It defines Dharma, which is natural truth. And it is the planet that brings that truth. It's not, of course, really a planet, but in Vedic astrology, we refer to the sun and the moon as planets. But anyway, it is the body that brings truth and brings the light to our solar system and to our astrological chart. It burns untruth and destroys darkness. In the astrological chart, in a personal chart, the sun can represent our father, it can represent our career. In the chart of a country, it represents the king or the president. So it has to do with ruling and leading. The sun also represents holy places and temples. If we have, for example, the sun in the 12th house is faraway places. If the sun is in the 12th house in our chart, we might go on pilgrimages to faraway places to visit temples. The sun also represents vitality and willpower. People who work with light, such as Vedic astrologers and light workers, have to really cultivate their relationship with the sun. And we'll be talking about different ways to do that in this presentation. The sun is the higher level of fire element. Mars, on the other hand, is also a fire planet, but it is a tamasic planet. So Mars tends to bring more heat, and the sun, heat and inflammation and things like that. And the sun tends to be connected more with light. The sun also represents our wealth and our resources in the chart. If we have a strong sun, we may have a lot of resources and opportunity for wealth. One quality of the sun is that it gives to all without discrimination, but it also burns. This is one reason why the sun is considered to be mildly malefic in terms of social circumstances. People with strong suns often are very magnetic. On the other hand, it's sometimes hard to be around that energy all the time. But in terms of spiritual practices, the sun is a great benefic. So being in touch with our own inner light, if we have a strong sun, we're able to do that. The class, in terms of Indian caste system, is the warrior caste or warrior class. The highest caste or class are the Brahmins or the priests. So this is the one right below that. And you might wonder, well, why would the sun be that? Well, it has to do with leadership. The Brahmins are very hands-off, aren't really connected with society. But the sun really represents the leader who sets the example and who leads and who has that bravery to always do what's right, even when it's difficult. This is a quote from the Bhagavad Gita. The Kshatriya, which means the warrior, never flees from the war. He shows bravery, skill, chivalry, and patience in the face of war. Donation to the society and protecting citizens are the norms of a Kshatriya. So having that warrior energy of bringing righteousness and being the one who sets the example is really a condition of the sun. Protecting, leading, holding the ideals for society. The vowels in any language are also connected with the sun, and the grain associated with the sun is wheat. And also the mythical Garuda bird, who we have here, is got that fiery solar energy. So we're going to recite the mantra for the sun a few times together, which is Om Suryaya Namaha. We'll say it 3 times. Om Suryaya Namaha. Om Suryaya Namaha. Om Suryaya Namaha. You can see this is the deity Surya, and he is driving a chariot that is drawn by 7 horses, which are the 7 days of the week, as the sun rules the 7 days of the week, also represents the 7 planets. The sun is also connected, of course, with our true radiant inner nature, and therefore has a connection with teachers. The planet that most strongly represents teachers is Guru, which is Jupiter, but the sun represents that inner light. When our own inner light is able to connect with the inner light of a radiant being who is helping to show us our inner light and help us to get rid of all of our distractions and show us our own inner light, that is called Guru Yoga. The outer guru is awakening our inner guru through the process of Guru Yoga, through a process of transmitting or sharing the light. So I just wanted to show this slide. I thought it was a beautiful one. This is a Buddhist teacher who inspires many people, Dzongtsar Khyentse Rinpoche, and you can see the light of the sun reflected in the water, just as the light of the student's Buddha nature is reflected by the guru. This slide is explaining an astronomical phenomenon that's important to understand, because I'd like everyone to figure out on the next slide your Vedic sun sign. And in order to do that, you're going to have to understand that your sun sign is actually different in Vedic astrology than it is in tropical astrology. In tropical regular astrology, which is what is practiced, by 95% or 99% of astrologers in the United States, the sun sign, because sun is so connected with identity and ego, the sun sign is the most important sign. Actually, in Vedic astrology, the ascendant and the moon sign are more important. But it is easy to figure out your Vedic astrological sun sign, so I do want to explain why it's different in Vedic astrology. The reason is that the Earth is actually wobbling on its axis. And so as it wobbles, it appears that the stars in the sky are actually rotating, but we're the one who's actually rotating. And it takes 26,000 years to do one wobble. And since astrology was invented, the Earth has wobbled the equivalent of almost one whole sign. It's wobbled about 23 degrees. That's what it's showing here. And that wobble is almost one complete sign. So for example, and the wobble makes it look like the sky is going backwards. So for example, if in tropical regular astrology, your sun sign is Cancer, the sun may have actually been in Gemini when you were born. So I know this is a shift for a lot of people, but that is actually the truth. And it's the reason I studied Vedic astrology rather than tropical astrology, because it is more accurate. It's about where the stars actually are in the sky right now, as opposed to where they were 2,000 years ago. This phenomena is called the precession of the equinox, so you can always look into it some more if you want to understand the astronomical understandings and concepts behind the accuracy of Vedic astrology. So I'd like you to take a look at this chart to see what your sun sign is. As you can see, the sign changes in the middle of the month. So for example, Aries starts on April 14th and goes through May 15th. So if you can take a look at your birthday, let's say you were born June 13th. That means that your Vedic sun sign is Taurus. This is Aditi. Aditi means boundless, limitless, non-dual, and she is considered to be the mother of the 12 Adityas, or the 12 sun signs. So there is an Aditya, or a sun god, that is associated with each of the 12 sun signs. And hopefully you have made note of your particular sun sign. If not, you might want to rewind a little bit and take a look, because these are mantras that can bring light to your sun and strengthen your sun. This is a very simple upaya, or remedial measure, if you would like to strengthen all of the attributes of your sun, whether it's your health or your mood or your sense of self. Many good reasons to strengthen the sun in your chart. And this is the way you can do it, is by reciting the mantra associated with your sun sign. So I'm going to sing these mantras so that you can hear them. I'll sing each one twice, once for you to hear it and once for you to repeat with me. So I'm just going to go over the meanings of them before we do that. As Datta, which is Aries, which represents health and domestic tranquility, the Aditya creates living beings. So it's a very creative sun sign. As Aryama, which is Taurus, connected with life partner and connected with being a patronage, he is in the wind. As Mitra, which is connected with the sign of Gemini, Mitra is the divine friend and is connected with friendship. He is in the moon and the oceans. As Varuna, sea, justice, and truth, he is in the waters, and that is connected with the water sign of Cancer. As Indra, who's in the royal sign of Leo, and Indra is the king of the gods, he destroys the enemies of the gods. As Vivashvan, he is in the fire and helps to cook food. That's the sign of Virgo, that's connected with digestion, interestingly enough. As Pusha, who is Aditya connected with going on journeys, feeding of cattle, and a psychopomp, helping beings transition from death and leading them through the bardos. He makes food grains grow. That's the sign of Libra. As Parjanya, he showers down rain, which is the water sign of Scorpio. As Amshumana, he is again the wind. This is the sign of Sagittarius. As Pagha, prosperity, he is in the body of all living beings. This is the sign of Capricorn. That's related to karma yoga and career. As Twashta, artisan, he lives in the trees and herbs. Twashta is related to the architecture and designing things and creating things, the sign of Aquarius. And as Vishnu, the sustainer, he destroys the enemies of the gods. So this is from traditional Vedic texts, these explanations of the Adityas. So we're going to sing these mantras. Aum Krini Datya Aditya Aum Krini Datta Ditya. And the word Krini means please shine. So we're asking the Aditya to shine the light into our sun and our astrological chart. And then Taurus is Aryama. Aum Krini Aryama Ditya. Aum Krini Aryama Ditya. Gemini is Mitra. Aum Krini Mitra Ditya. Aum Krini Mitra Ditya. Cancer is Varuna. Aum Krini Varuna Ditya. Aum Krini Varuna Ditya. Leo is Indra. Aum Krini Indra Ditya. Aum Krini Indra Ditya. Virgo is Vivashvan. Aum Krini Vishvana Ditya. Aum Krini Vishvana Ditya. Libra is Pushan. Aum Krini Pusha Ditya. Aum Krini Pusha Ditya. Scorpio is Parjanya. Aum Krini Parjanya Ditya. Aum Krini Parjana Ditya. Sagittarius is Amsuman. Aum Krini Amsumana Ditya. Aum Krini Amsumana Ditya. Capricorn is Bhagha. Aum Krini Bhagha Ditya. Aum Krini Bhagha Ditya. Aquarius is Twasta. Aum Krini Twasta Ditya. Aum Krini Twasta Ditya. And Pisces is Vishnu. Aum Krini Vishvana Ditya. Aum Krini Vishnava Ditya. This is an explanation of how the signs of the zodiac were formed and especially their lordships. Surya, the sun, is king of the zodiac and owns all 12 of the houses through the Aditya that we just were discussing and learned the mantras for. But the kingdom is too big for him to handle alone. So he divides the zodiac into two parts, the day part and the night part. So this is the day part over here, which is connected with the sun. And this is the night part over here, which is connected with the moon. You can see the sun and the moon down here. King Surya himself sits on Magha, the throne. It's a lunar mansion associated with the throne that is found in the sign of Leo, the lunar mansion of coronation. And he gives out feudal fiefdoms and work according to the natural order of the planet's distance from the sun. So let's start with Mercury. Mercury is the planet that's closest to the sun. So the sun gives Mercury a sun side over here, which is the sign of Virgo, and Mercury rules Virgo. And over here, on the moon side, Mercury is ruling Gemini. Next comes Venus, and Venus is on the solar side is ruling the sign of Libra, and on the lunar side is ruling the sign of Taurus. Next planet is Mars. Over here is Scorpio, ruled by Mars. Over here is Aries, ruled by Mars. And the next planet is Jupiter. And here is Jupiter, who rules the Sagittarius and Pisces. And finally, the outermost planet, according to Vedic astrology, is Saturn, and Aquarius and Capricorn are ruled by Saturn. So this is how the rulerships of the different signs came into being. They're all related to the sun, and to the planets, how distant they are from the sun. Later, if you do study Vedic astrology, understanding how these rulerships came about makes it much easier to memorize the rulerships. The signs of the zodiac are also related to the parts of the body, and this is a medieval picture from Western astrology. It's basically the same whether you're doing Eastern or Western astrology. I'm going to show you on the next slide a few more versions. So we'll go over this right now. Basically, the head is ruled by Aries, the ram. Well, this particular ram looks almost like a unicorn. It's got a very long, it looks like it's got a horn coming out there. Anyway, Aries, the ram, rules the head. The throat is ruled by Taurus, the bull. You can see a bull over here. The arms are ruled by Gemini, the twins. You can see a man and a woman over here. This part here, the upper chest and the stomach are ruled by Cancer. And then Leo rules the heart. Virgo is down here in some of the digestive organs. Then Libra is coming down lower into the kind of ovaries, internal sexual organs. Scorpio is here ruling the external genitalia as well as the anus. Sagittarius rules the thighs. Capricorn rules the knees. Aquarius rules the shins. And finally, Pisces rules the feet. So you'll see this pretty universal in any kind of astrology, and this is a beginning of starting to understand medical astrology. For example, if you have malefic planets in Leo, you might have heart problems, for example. That's a very simple kind of example. But understanding how the signs of the zodiac relate to the body parts is a beginning of understanding and studying medical astrology. Every chart of every person or every living being actually has a planet that represents what their soul came here to learn in this lifetime. It's called your Atma Karaka, which means Atma means soul, Karaka means significator. So significator of your soul. If Sun is the significator of your soul, some of the issues that you may be looking at are identity issues. What is my identity? How do I handle being alone? Because the sun has a lot to do with being on your own, being alone. What role does ego play in my life? Because it's connected with ego, sense of self. Learning to practice humility and overcoming the ego may be one of your life lessons. You may have a desire to be a leader, to be the kind of the center of things, like the sun. Channeling energy through music, especially rhythmical music or drumming. Caring for father and male elders can be part of your karmic path. If the sun is your significator of your soul, because the father and male elders are represented by the sun. And Raja Yoga, which is about recognizing one's own divine nature through meditation. These could all be very important to you if sun is your soul significator in this life. The way to find that out is to go to a Vedic astrologer who practices an esoteric form of astrology, which I learned in India. The sun is very important in terms of understanding our health in our chart. It is connected with vision, the spine, the heart, the head, digestion, as in digestive fire, vitality, overall vitality. If the sun is paired up with some malefic planets, it may bring fever and inflammations in the body. Sun is connected with mood and, of course, self-esteem. The sunshine vitamin, vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is made in our skin if we get enough sun, but very few people get enough sun to make enough vitamin D to stay in a good reference range. So I generally have people get the test and find out, and pretty much everybody is low unless they are just all day out in the sun, in which case that can also be very damaging to the sun. So I don't know, vitamin D supplementation these days seems pretty necessary. Vitamin D helps, of course, with the bones, but it also helps with the heart, the immune system. It helps reduce inflammation in the body. It helps with mood. In fact, it's used as an antidepressant in Europe. Can help with weight loss because of helping with raising metabolism and vitality. Every cell of your body has a receptor for it. So all of these conditions are all related to the sun directly in terms of correspondences. So if you don't know your vitamin D levels, I would suggest getting them tested. Most people need to supplement at least 5,000 IUs of vitamin D. Sun salutations, which are wonderful for the spine and the heart, getting up at sunrise and doing sun salutations is a wonderful health exercise. And you can see here how closely Vedic astrology, Ayurveda, yoga, all of these sciences are really one thing in India. They're just different aspects. This is the physical aspect of getting up and doing these exercises, which really activate the spine and the heart. And you can even do mantras as you do the sun salutation. Some of these mantras are exactly the same as the Aditya mantras that we talked about earlier. There are many, many names of the sun and many different mantras for the sun. Here's one over on the left, Om Aditya Namah, which is the Adityas in general, but then some of these others are the specific Adityas that we did before. Here's Mitra up here is the first one, Mitraya Namah. So you can do mantras as you do your sun salutations in the morning. The spine and the chakras are connected with the sun, especially, of course, the solar plexus chakra, connected with wisdom and power. The sign ruled by the sun is Leo, which represents nobility, leadership, the warrior caste, forests and temples, and some qualities that are associated with Leo. Of course, Leo is the king, on being honorable, dignified, warm-hearted, cheerful, magnetic, orthodox religious beliefs, music, philosophy, can be a bit ostentatious, enjoying luxury and that king quality. And the mantra for the sign of Leo is Om Simhaya Namah. So Om Simhaya Namah. Om Simhaya Namah. Simha means lion. So that is the name of Leo. That's what in Sanskrit Vedic astrology. Here is a picture that was done by a medical doctor named M.L. Franke. And she did these beautiful pictures. Up here we can see the glyph for the sign of Leo, and here's a glyph for the sun. This is the actual Leo, the stars that make up the constellation of Leo. And here she's showing how in the body you can see the glyphs. Here's the sun glyph down here. Then here's the descending and the ascending aorta. And she's showing how it looks like the glyph for Leo. So you've got a little sun here representing the heart, and then the glyph for Leo here. Here she's showing a cross section of it, where you've got the sun in the middle, and then you've got the ascending and descending aorta, and how it connects to the spine, which is also associated with the sun. So this is how anatomy relates. Here is a picture of the zodiac. This is actually Eastern style Vedic chart. And it's showing the different signs of the zodiac, and it's showing, I'm basically showing this to show the places in the chart where the sun is very strong. Of course, the sun is strong when it's placed in its own sign of Leo down here, but it's also strong in the sign of Aries. Aries is the royal sign. It's the first sign of the zodiac. In Aries, the sun or the soul attains self-realization. It's the king of the zodiac. With self-realization, we can know others as well and help with healing, counseling, and astrology. So having Aries sun is excellent. Leo sun is excellent. I mean, the sun can be anywhere in the zodiac and you can be a good astrologer. But these are some places where the sun is especially strong. The best astrologers worship the sun. So as I said, to do anything like astrology, you have to have cultivate a connection with the sun through mantra, through spiritual practices. Gemstones are another upaya or remedy method in astrology. So depending on your chart and depending on the planets, you might want to wear a Vedic gemstone. The one in the center is a ruby, which represents the sun. So Vedic gems are untreated. You can see in the picture here, this ruby is pink. The reason for being more of a pink than what you would more associated with red color is that the gems are not heated to enhance their color. They're left unheated and untreated. And those are considered to be the powerful gemstones in terms of Vedic prescriptions. So you have to actually go to a jeweler that understands these things to get untreated rubies. There are some excellent Jyotish jewelers that I can give you suggestions for if you ever want to follow up and get an untreated stone. Now we're going to talk about some of the herbal remedies that are associated with the sun. The ones that we're going to discuss in this presentation are all yogic remedies that help with opening up the channels, the nadis, and help to open up the brain and enhance brain function for meditation. Brahmi or Godakola is actually had research done on it. It improves memory and cognition and even has helped Alzheimer's patients. It improves circulation in general. It is called the herb of enlightenment, and meditators and yogis take it for this purpose, that it opens, clarifies the mind, promotes longevity, and we learn how to make these spagyric preparations of these different herbs in the Vitalism program, which I'll be talking about toward the end of the presentation. This particular spagyric, when I made it as a spagyric, I made it at noon, which is when the sun is very strong, on a Sunday, which is the day of the sun, when the sun was exalted in Aries, when it was in its best sign, which we talked about earlier. So this is one way that we can enhance the qualities of a plant or an herb by working with the energies. This is the idea behind Paracelsian alchemy, which we teach in the Vitalism program. This is saffron, Crocus sativus. You can see it's got even the word sattva right in the name. The stamens of the Crocus sativus are what the spice saffron is. There are 3 of them per flower, and you can see the incredibly beautiful color. Those 3 represent the 3 worlds. They do look like the rays of the sun. And saffron is used by yogis as an internal sun to purify the subtle energy channels. And it's got a very sattvic quality. Even if you don't get an actual spagyric preparation, which is what I make, you can just make saffron tea or put saffron in soups, and you will feel the very beautiful, vibrant, sattvic energy of saffron. I think it's one of the most powerful herbs that I can think of. Monks, of course, use it to dye their robes, that beautiful saffron color, and it's also used to mark the third eye here during religious ceremonies, so opening up that eye of wisdom. So it's a very beautiful herb, of course, very expensive and costly. That's another sort of royal, kingly attribute, that it's so rare and so costly. So really energetic purification and doing meditative practices or energy work. Crocus sativa saffron is a wonderful plant. Boswellia, which is frankincense. This is another very holy substance. Of course, it's a resin, and in terms of preparing it alchemically, it's a really interesting one to prepare, because when we do the alchemical process, the first thing we do is to put the substance in 95% organic grape alcohol. And resins, I discovered when I did this one, dissolve almost completely in alcohol. So it completely infuses, and it's very, very strong, very powerful. Of course, it's used as an incense, but it is also used as an Ayurvedic herb to open the mind and clear the channels of the body. It's an anti-inflammatory and is used a lot in joint formulas these days, as well as being an immune system booster. So you can see all the connections with the sun, with the spiritual side, with the boosting the immune system, with dealing with inflammation. It's really wonderful stuff. I love the sun herbs. Here are some benefits that you can see all relate to what we've learned about the sun so far. Lowering inflammation, reducing joint and arthritis pain, fighting cancer, speeding up healing, and preventing autoimmune disease. So it's got a lot of health benefits as well. Shiva, although I mentioned earlier that he's associated with overcoming tamas guna, he's also associated with the sun and is one of the deities that people worship or chant the mantra for if they are working with sun energy. So Om Namah Shivaya. And finally, in terms of mantras, the quintessential sun mantra is what is called the Gayatri mantra, which is straight out of the Rig Veda. This is a very, very beautiful, sublime mantra that is referring to the sun in this mantra as Savitur, which is one of the sun's names. So I'm going to chant this mantra 3 times and then go over a couple of the very beautiful translations of it. Om Bhurvuvah Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yo Na Prachodaya. Om Bhurvuvah Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yo Na Prachodaya. Om Bhurvuvah Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo Yo Na Prachodaya. So Swami Vivekananda translated this mantra as we meditate on the glory of that being who has produced this universe. May he enlighten our minds. Here's a more elaborate translation, which seems to be the quintessence of the sun. by Sri Ram Sharma. Om, the Brahm, the universal divine energy, vital spiritual energy, Pran, the essence of our life existence, positivity, destroyer of sufferings, the happiness that is bright, luminous like the sun, best, destroyer of evil thoughts, the divinity who grants happiness, may imbibe its divinity and brilliance within us, which may purify us and guide our righteous wisdom on the right path. So here are some ideas of things you can do if you'd like to take this further and experience the blessings of the sun. On a Sunday, which is the day of the sun, at sunrise, which is a time of the sun, you could take a sun herb or a sun elixir, some saffron tea, or a spagyric, or whatever form you wanted to do of one of these sun herbs. You could do the sun salutations with those mantras, with or without, whatever feels good to you. You could chant after that. You could sit and do a meditation, chant the Gayatri mantra, or the Surya mantra, or the Aditya mantra connected with your sun sign. Or if you want to do something simple, you could chant the seed syllable Ram. Ram is associated with the Vishnu avatar Rama, who is connected with the sun, and it is also the seed syllable for fire. So Ram, Ram, Ram. You can chant that as you meditate on your heart center or your solar plexus. Ram, 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 Ram. So you can give yourself a solar experience and strengthen your own solar energies by doing any or all of these together, especially on a Sunday. So the next part of this series will be on the moon, which I will be doing live in Mount Shasta on August 3rd. And you can sign up for my email list at vitalism.us if you'd like to stay in touch about other webinars. I also do Vedic astrology readings, both on Zoom and live in Mount Shasta, California. You can learn more about that at my website, astrohealing.us. And if you're interested in learning astrology and plant alchemy and spiritual practices, the Vitalism program, vitalism.us, is where you can learn about our certification program that teaches you Vedic astrology along with spiritual practices and plant alchemy. So thank you very much for watching this presentation. Namaste.